How can one overcome any fears or misconceptions they may have that they actually need professional help?
So we need help. We need help. So what's the difference between you needing help to keep yourself safe and you driving and you needing mental health support in your friend group? And of course, you have to have a friend group that has some sort of level of emotional intelligence, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
even basic,
That's not everybody,
yes, even basic emotional intelligence, the thoughts that you have that you think are too awful to ever say out loud, right? Those are all things that we do in treatment.
I agree. And I think sometimes what's helpful is if you know somebody who's received therapy and they've benefited from it.
Still am, but I was
Yeah.
10 years young and I said, yeah, I think that all the time. And she said, you?
The therapist that's got it all together, right?
Women are, what I hear you saying is that women are more cognizant of everyone around them and their needs to their detriment.
How do we optimize our mental health? How does one know when they need professional help? And how do they get over the stigma of acknowledging not only that we need professional help, but actually getting it? Well, our guest today shares her insights on these issues. She's a clinical psychologist, mental health expert, author, and international speaker. Please welcome Dr. Keita Carter. Keita, thanks for being here today. So glad we connected.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Good to be here.
I want to start just by saying I love your Instagram. It's filled with so many helpful, easy to understand bits of information. It's very digestible. Everybody's got like short attention spans these days. So you make it very digestible and easy to understand. And I think it can help a lot of people not only discover issues they might be struggling with personally, but also ways to defeat a lot of these mental health battles every one of us faces in life. So I want to thank you for that and all that you share on your platform. And I want to start with the whole issue of stigma around treating mental health issues. So I've seen this addressed on your platform. Not everybody wants to acknowledge when they need professional help. They might worry about the perceptions of others, or they might just be in denial about their own issues. How can one overcome any fears or misconceptions they may have that they actually need professional help?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And what it really boils down to is, I think, in a lot of ways, understanding what help is. And sometimes we see it as, many times, particularly when it comes to mental health stigma, we see it as something that shouldn't be needed. And what I want to do is challenge for our listeners, our viewers, as well as for anybody, um, what exactly is help? Because we need the help of other people every day, all day long. When you are driving, you need the help of the drivers around you to be safe. You cannot account for all safety factors. You need the help of other drivers to make sure that they're braking so that you're braking, right? That their vehicle has working equipment, working brake lights, right? You need the help of other drivers in order for you to be safe. When you're shopping in a store, you need the help of other consumers for you to be safe. You also need the help of the owners, the personnel that are working in the store to help you figure out where something is, or to help you get something from a higher shelf, or to help you understand if it's not in this store, is it at the store across town. We need help to check ourselves out of most stores. Not all
Yeah.
stores at this point, but most
Yeah,
stores.
right. No kidding. Yeah.
So
Well, you can say AI, right?
yes, so we need help. We need help.
Yeah.
So what's the
Yeah.
difference between you needing help to keep yourself safe and you driving, and you needing mental health support because you're going through a rough spot, because
Yeah.
you're having symptoms that you don't really understand, because your life has been really difficult in this current season and you don't know how to navigate it? What is the difference? Help is help.
Right. But I guess it's because like our mental health is so personal,
Yeah.
right? Like we feel like people judge us based on that. And sadly, like a lot of people do,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, it's hard to get around that.
It is.
I agree with everything you say, but it's a place where a lot of people don't want to go,
Yes,
right?
and I think that's why I want to challenge, is it different? And I know it feels more personal, right? You're talking about your deepest, darkest secrets. You're talking
Yeah.
about the rape that you haven't talked about since it happened. You're talking about the
Mhm.
abuse that nobody knows about. You're talking about the thoughts that you have that you think are too awful to ever say out loud, right? Those are all
Right.
things that we do in treatment. At the end of the day, it is still getting help. And while there are personal parts to treatment, right? And that is part of the beauty of treatment, is that you get to hear in a non-judgmental space your words bounce off the walls. You get some interaction from someone else in a non-judgmental way about how you're thinking and how you're feeling and how you're behaving. All of that is important, and all of that is nothing but help. So yes,
Yeah.
it's more personal, but it boils down to, it's no different than needing the help of other people to navigate life, right? When
Mhm.
you get in your vehicle, you need the help of other people to navigate life. When you move, you
Yeah.
need the help of other people to navigate
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. I agree. And I think sometimes what's helpful is if you know somebody who's received therapy and they've benefited from it. In particular, I can think of one individual who I worked with many years ago who had a very tough upbringing, abusive stepdads. Mom was in and out of marriages, just a tough childhood, poverty. And, he was able to overcome all that and become a very, very successful person in his life with his own family. And he gave a lot of credit to the therapy that he received to get out of that.
Yeah.
And so I think if we know somebody who's been down that road, that's always helpful, right?
I think it's super helpful. And what I will also share is that you do know someone. The
Yeah.
stigma is so great that people aren't talking about, this is how I got the support that I need.
Right.
However, if it takes one person to say, I think I want to go to therapy. If you're talking about your friend group, you're sitting in your friend group of maybe 5 or 6 friends, right? It takes one person to say, I think I want to go to therapy, or I just started therapy. And you would be surprised at the number of friends who say, yeah, I had to get into therapy when I was going through my divorce. You would be
Yeah.
surprised at the number of, it's actually the one thing that I can liken it to, what I personally experienced, is women don't talk about miscarriages and the loss of babies. And the moment you say you had a miscarriage, it opens up the door for other women to say, oh, yeah, between my first and my second, so did I. It's
Yeah.
just not, people do have it, it happens, and people move on from it, right? And you see this family, I have 4 children, you see this family, and nobody sees the rainbow baby in between the first and the second. And nobody
Mhm.
talks about that rainbow baby outside of your personal family, and maybe not even that. However, if you mention it, then you'll hear people say, oh, yep, I experienced that. And that's the one thing I can say I've noticed is similar to therapy, is that it takes one person to say, yeah, this happened. And other people are like, I've been thinking about that. You'll either get, if
Yeah.
you say it in your friend group, and of course you have to have a friend group that has some sort of level of emotional intelligence, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
even basic
That's
emotional,
not everybody,
yes, even basic emotional intelligence. If you say it in your friend group where you have basic emotional intelligence, not high, just basic,
Yeah. Yeah.
you will find that someone is going to say, I did therapy, I'm currently in therapy, or
Mhm.
I've been thinking about it too.
Yeah. We always have to wait for somebody else to go first in life, right?
Yes,
Why
I
is
want to
that?
challenge our viewers to do it yourself.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think makes our emotions so complicated? I think emotions are a huge driver that impact our mental health. What is it about that? What is it that our emotions play into our well-being?
Our brains are the most complex brains on the planet. So the most amazing thing, this is why I study the brain, right? The most amazing thing about our brains that is different from every other animal is that we have the ability to rationalize the most amazing things that don't make any sense for our own personal mortality, and they don't make any, and vice versa. We have the ability to rationalize the most awful things, right? So, and I've shared this on my Instagram page. When one lion is sick, the other lions leave it. They let nature take its course, including cubs. It's hard for the mother, but if they've got to trek across this terrain and one of the cubs is sick, the family keeps moving. And unfortunately, that means that the cub that is sick, the cub that is weakest, the cub that isn't getting enough milk for whatever reason, is going to perish at some point. And what human beings can do is say, you're sick with cancer and I'm going to shave my head so that we can be in the same space, at least physically, right? No other animals do that. They don't have the rationale to do it, right? Where we say world hunger is so important to me, I'm going to go on a hunger strike. No other animals rationalize doing that, right? They are driven by their animal instinct to eat and to kill for food and to mate, right? We're one of two animals that mates for fun. All other animals are driven by the evolution to keep your genes going, right? That is part of our brain makeup, and that's so amazing, so amazing. And that's what makes emotions complicated. And on the reverse side, our brains have the ability to rationalize slavery and the Holocaust and internment camps, right? Because they look different than I do. Complexity of the brain makes our emotions so much more complex.
It's fascinating.
It's fascinating. It's
Yeah.
one of the things that, like, when I think about the things that human beings can rationalize that no other animal will rationalize in both positive and negative ways, it's
Mhm.
just fascinating.
Yeah, it's almost like reason versus instinct, right? Like you said, animals move on instinct. Humans move on the ability to reason.
Hmm.
You can't reason with an elephant. You can't reason with a lion,
Yeah.
but you can reason with another person.
Yes,
We're reasoning right now,
we
right? We're
are.
having
Yeah.
an intellectual understanding,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just the human brain is wild.
It's
I got to do an episode on that someday, or a series. Um, so, do you think we create a lot of our own issues, or are there external factors? What have you found in counseling people in your practice?
Yeah, it's a combination of both, right? Like, we certainly have a foundation, right? Nobody exists without a context. Nobody exists without a context. Everybody is at the core of, there's a whole theory about this, Bronfenbrenner's theory. The core, the ecological system, you're at your core, but then around you is a microsystem and a mesosystem and a chronosystem, right? Where your family lies, where your social group lies, where your political views lie, where
Mhm.
your national community lies, right? We're all set in all of these layers, and all of the and those external factors have an impact on us, right? There's an impact on us when things happen in Palestine, between Palestine and Israel. There's an impact
Yeah,
on us. You know,
yeah,
it might not be a direct impact for some of us, others it most certainly is, but even a world away, there's still an impact on us because
mhm,
though that's part of our layers. The world that we exist in is part of our layers. So I think in some ways, in many ways, the external factors have an impact on how we see ourselves, how we see others, and how we see our future. But there are times when we create what we fear. It's one of my favorite quotes. You create what you fear, right? We
yeah,
fear being embarrassed, and so we do things that ultimately prove to be embarrassing. We fear being left, so we push people away so that they can leave. We create an experience that brings us exactly what we fear, so that we can say, "See, I knew I should protect myself against this." So there are
yeah.
times when we create our own issues, but again, even creating that issue is not without its context. We have a fear of being abandoned because of something that happened that set us in this foundation, right? Something that happened early on.
So that's pretty self-destructive, right? Like if we're pushing people out of our lives so we can prove that somebody's going to abandon us, like that sounds like
It
a
is a
vicious
vicious
circle.
cycle, right? Because then
Yeah.
when you push people away, they say, "Hey, I'm just trying to help. Hey, I'm just trying to love you. Hey, I'm just trying to be a friend to you. And this is hard work. I'm friends with other people that don't take this much work. So maybe I'll back up if that's what you want." And that's not what they really want. If we're using the abandonment example, that's not what they really want. But it takes a special type of person to see through that and say, "I'm not leaving. I'm not letting you go at all just because this is what you're doing or this is how you're behaving." It takes a special kind of person. It also takes somebody with an incredible amount of emotional maturity and stamina. And a lot of people don't have that. And that's okay because they got their own stuff going on. So then that person ends up feeling alone and saying, "Yeah, I don't have friends. And yeah, I don't get invited out." but sometimes there's very little insight as to what's causing that loneliness and that abandonment. So that's what
Yeah.
therapy is for.
Right. 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 Is it hard to uncover the causes of that self-destructive behavior when people are literally sabotaging themselves?
Sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. It's just a third party, right? That's my training. I'm trained to see patterns in people's behavior. I'm
Hmm.
trained to see patterns in how people think and how we behave. I'm trained to make connections between how you think, feel, and behave. So sometimes it's very easy. It's just that I'm looking at you like I look at a movie, right?
Hmm.
So somebody who's produced a movie, I don't know about you, but have you ever given a presentation and you've looked at the slides 18 million times? A million times you've read these slides. And then you stand up and you say, "Oh my God, my name is spelled wrong on the title slide," right? Or or maybe not that egregious, but
Yeah.
I
I've
left,
seen that literally. I've
and I'm
seen my
like,
name spelled wrong on a
how
slide.
many times did I look at these slides? How many times did I scrutinize
Yeah.
every single word? And yet
Yeah.
I miss that, right? Because you're so close to it. And that's how sometimes
Yeah.
our emotional baggage is. Like we're so close to the bags, we can't go through them. We're just holding on to them. And when we can't even put them down to go through them. And that's
Mhm.
what part of treatment is about, putting down the bag and someone saying, hey, let's go through this together. Let's open the bag, which sometimes is a work within itself. Putting down the bag
Yeah.
and opening the bag, if you're getting this analogy, is work within itself. And then going through and pulling out the clothes and the gadgets and whatever is there that is protecting you, whatever is there that you're saying, I have to hold on to this because this is what's keeping me from not falling apart. And
Yeah.
sometimes what's keeping us from not falling apart is dysfunctional.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's emotional withdrawals keeping me from not falling apart, but that is dysfunctional. It's meanness, it's unkindness that's keeping me from not falling apart, because if I get close to someone and then they pull away from me, I'm gonna fall apart. But if I never get
Yeah.
close, then I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. It's almost like a
So yeah,
safety net, right?
yes, definitely self-preservation.
Yeah.
But we never want to disable someone from preserving themselves. That is human, that is animal
Hmm.
nature, right?
Hmm.
We do things to preserve ourselves, but we want to do healthy things to preserve ourselves. So withdrawing when you are feeling disconnected is
Yeah.
not the healthiest thing to do, especially long term. Certainly sometimes we just need a little bit of space. We need a couple of minutes, we need a couple of days. When
Yeah.
something is not going well, we need some space. But
Yeah.
emotionally withdrawing from life or from everybody is not functional when you're not doing well. And so that's part of what therapy is about, is saying like, hey, I don't want to keep you from preserving yourself. This is how you, the best way that you know how to preserve yourself. What I want to do is help give you other ways to preserve yourself so that
Hmm.
it's working in a healthier way for you, so that you keep your friends around you. We need
Yeah.
friends. It's one of the things that I say to people all the time, particularly women. A lot of women have woman hurt. They've
Hmm.
had a group of friends, and for whatever reason it hasn't gone well, and they get to this space in life where they say, I don't need friends. All I need is my husband. All I need is my kids. Particularly women, but men too. People need other people. Women need
Hmm.
other women.
No, it takes me back to something we talked about earlier, and you mentioned how people withdraw when things aren't going well, and I think that comes back to fear of people's perceptions. People don't want people to know that they're not having a good time. That's not always what people put up. Social media is a perfect example, right? What do 99.9% of people put up on social media? All their wins, all their victories. And it's okay to celebrate life. I'm not against that. But it paints this unrealistic picture of life. And for that person that's scrolling their feed and they see everybody's touting their wins, and they're in a valley right now, that's just really hard that's hard for people to see, right? And I think it makes them withdraw further. And they don't want to put their bad stuff up there, right?
Yeah, a comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
Comparison is a thief of joy. It never does us well to compare, because we're in different races.
Yeah.
We're in different period. We're not even we're you're comparing apples to oranges, and everybody
Mhm.
is a different fruit. So
Yeah.
never, and I don't care if they went to the same high school as you and you graduated the same year. You didn't have the same upbringing, therefore you're different fruits.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you also went to the same college and you graduated and you both graduated summa cum laude. You also had different college experiences, so you're not the same fruits. Like there's nothing about anybody's life that can compare to yours, and it's so hard. And sometimes that means you have to stop scrolling. It's
Yeah.
so hard to not see other people and say, I should be there, I should have
Yeah.
accomplished more. What I also want to challenge people to remember is that the person that you're looking at saying, I should have accomplished more, is also saying that to themselves because
Hmm.
they're in a different race. And I
Yeah.
remember someone saying that to me, someone in my church saying to me, I'm looking back over, I'm turning 50, I'm looking back over my life, and I should be further along.
Hmm.
And I said, and I was 10 years younger than she at the time. Well, still am, but
Hmm.
I was 10 years
Yeah.
younger, and I said, yeah, I think that all the time. And she said, you? Yeah.
The therapist that's got it all together,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think that all the time. I should have already
Yeah.
done this, right?
Yeah.
I've written 3 books, but I should have written 5 by now.
Yeah.
It's because it's not the same race. It's just
Yeah.
not the same. So it's, what she's saying is, she was saying at the time, I should have finished my degree by now. She's a non-traditional student, so she went back to school, and she was saying, I should have finished my degree by now. I'm 50. I'll finish when I'm 50. Right? That's not my race though, right?
Yeah.
But I do have but the feeling of, there's a universality. It's part of group therapy. A major concept in group therapy is called universality.
Hmm.
The idea is that we don't all have the same topic, but we all have the same experience.
Right.
I'm not saying I should have finished school by now. I finished Temple at 21. I'm not saying that.
Hmm.
He finished UB at 50.
Hmm.
The universality is that we both are saying, I have something that I should have done and I'm not where I want to be. That's the
Yeah.
universality, right? Whether that's finishing college or finishing a book, whether that's, having children by now or being at a certain point in your career.
Yeah.
Most people are thinking, I think I should be at this level. I should be further. I should be further, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
Right? So the
Yeah.
comparison just doesn't work because we're all having the same experience. It's just with different topics. It's with different specific examples.
Yeah. And there's so much wisdom in catching yourself in those moments too. And not to say I'm no wizard at this, but I have had moments in my life where I had that feeling of, seeing another success in a time when I wasn't happy with the way things were going. And I literally remember stopping myself going, that individual's life's totally different from mine. Their circumstances are different. This doesn't even make sense. Like, we just make up stuff that it's just so ridiculous. And we set ourselves back 5, 10 steps in doing that.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll bet you unearth that all the time in people.
Yeah. 100%. And I'm guilty of it too, right? Because I'm still a human
Yeah.
being. So my brain
Yeah.
my brain is as complex as the next person's in good and negative ways, right? So I try to catch myself doing it sooner, but ultimately, people are people, the brain is the brain, and it's just about catching yourself and then saying, okay, what's a healthier way to think about this? The healthier way to think about this is that, and I've had this happen many times in my life.
Mhm.
What I thought I wanted 5 years ago, had I gotten it 5 years ago, I wouldn't have even had the skills, the patience, the bandwidth, the maturity to even manage it. What I thought I
Yeah.
wanted 5 years ago, right? This
Mhm.
has been a 5-year long project that I started and stopped. I finally finished it, but me finishing it now has set me up for something else. And if I finished it earlier, it might have finished and fizzled. But because
Yeah.
I'm finishing it now, it's propelling me to this next level because I'm ready for that next level. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yep.
I can remember I've interviewed for one job and didn't get it. One job.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I thought, this is new. Oh my.
Rejection.
This is new.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then I thought to myself, all right, people don't get jobs all the time. And
Yeah.
it's just like a sporting event. Somebody's got to lose and somebody's got to win, right? When you walk into the arena as a fan, as a player, I played sports all my life, as a fan or as a player, when you walk into the arena, somebody is walking out a loser,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep.
So, okay, you didn't get the job. Why didn't I get the job? What did somebody have that I didn't have? Well, you'll never know that. So there's no point in going there. Okay. All right. So ask for feedback. Is there something you could have done that or a way that you can grow from this? Okay, I'll do that.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna have to sit with this now. Cause it's new. But okay. 2 months later, I got called back for the supervisor of the job that I got denied for.
Wow. So things worked out.
So things worked out. But
Yeah.
if I had done that shame spiral, I think we should talk about thought spiraling and shame spiraling. If I had done that shame spiraling, I might not have even been ready to accept it. I might have still been in the space of, I can't believe you rejected me, and not even been able to accept, it seems like this worked out well.
Yeah.
It seems like this worked out well, right? But so it's one of those things where you don't know what's in the future. You can only go with what's happening right now, and sometimes that means you have to sit with discomfort.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. So I like trying to put things into, application just for our viewers and listeners, so they can take this wisdom and apply it. And you've given us plenty to work with already, and I appreciate that. I want to look at a specific situation somebody might be encountering out there, and that is, there's an individual, let's say they acknowledge they need help. They're dealing with some issues, and they have an unsupportive spouse or unsupportive partner. How do they best navigate that? I'm sure you've seen that.
Yeah. Yes. So a few things. Number one, obviously it would be helpful if you asked if you could go to couples. And many people say no. Only one person in the couple wants to go to couples. And in that case, I say then go to individual. Because again, going back to family therapy, when one person in the system changes, the whole system changes. So I want us to think about that. Let's say you're a family of 4 and mom gets sick with something and she's down for 4 weeks. That change in the system changes everything, because mom is in the pickup schedule, and now we've got to figure that out. And mom is in the dinner cooking rotation, and now we've got to figure that out. And mom is in the Saturday drop off for a dance, and now we've got to figure that out. One person in the system changes, the whole system changes.
Yeah.
Right? The same applies when someone is mentally not okay. When one person says, well, if we won't go, then I will go. They get tools, that one person gets tools to be healthier, and therefore the whole system has to change, because that one person has made a change, has made some changes based on their treatment. Yeah. And sometimes those changes produce wonderful changes in the family unit. Right? Someone says, wow, you have a different outlook on life. I'm surprised that you're so positive now, or I'm surprised you're so you seem to be kinder, or you seem to be less stressed. That's really nice. Sometimes it has a positive outlook. It has a positive impact on the family. Other times, that spouse might say, I don't like the new you. You're too happy. I don't like the new you. You're too content. Well, in that case, I go with step 3. If you can't change the people around you, change the people around you. Right?
Really?
If you can't change the people around you, change the people around you.
Yeah. That's heavy. That's heavy.
I mean, you love your people, right? You invest in people. You spend time with people. You nurture people. You give them what they need, and they give you what you need in relationships. But if someone is saying, you're healthier and I don't like it, you have 2 options. You can go back to your old self and make them satisfied, or you continue on your health journey. I know which way I'd like you to go as a psychologist. And so maybe that means, hey, honey, I'm healthier and you're seeing positive changes in me. Maybe it'd be helpful if you went individually. Maybe couple's not where we need to be right now. Maybe you go individually, right? I would say invest and invest and invest until you're at the point where that you are harmed. You are harmed. Relationships are supposed to bring us relief. They are supposed to bring us joy and support. So we should be in them up until the point where you are harmed. And that's any relationship. That's a marriage, that's a friendship, that's a parental child relationship. Relationships are, and that doesn't mean that they are going to be supportive 100% of the time. There are things that, that people don't agree with, right? And the research shows that 69% of things in a marriage, two people are not going to agree on.
Hmm.
69%. They're just not going to agree. It's not
That's a lot, huh?
yeah, it's a
That's a
lot,
lot.
right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's not that they just see it differently. But you've got 31%, and that 31% can swell, right? It can feel bigger than it is, depending on the topic, right? We might not agree on every year we might disagree on where we go on vacation. It's
Hmm.
not the same thing as we disagree on disciplining for our children. It's not the same thing, right? That
Yeah,
31% can swell and you can make it bigger than what it is. It can also get bigger than what it is. It depends on what you don't agree on,
yeah,
right? So I would
yeah.
say, invest in your people and show your commitment to your relationships. But at a certain point, when you're being harmed, then that means you need to take a step back from a relationship. That does not necessarily mean that I would never, just culturally speaking, I would never encourage someone to be estranged, right? Or disconnect from relationships, particularly, intimate relationships, right? I would never
Yeah.
encourage someone just disconnect from your mother. Culturally speaking, as someone of African descent, that's not in my cultural makeup to say
Yeah.
disconnect from your mother in perpetuity. Would I
Yeah.
say, hey, take a retreat, take a vacation,
Yeah.
emotionally? Absolutely, absolutely. If the relationship is harming you and you both are in toxic places, absolutely, let's take a break. Let's take a retreat. You go to your end of the ring and I go to my end of the ring. Let's both work on ourselves. Hopefully we're both committed to working on ourselves in whatever way that is. And then let's try see if we can reconvene. I think
Hmm.
that's healthy in all relationships.
Yeah. You brought up something interesting, just the whole family dynamic, that if one person changes, the whole unit
Yeah.
changes, and I mean, that's true, and that makes sense. That took me back to I remember a church I attended many years ago when I lived in another city. I got like a husband's devotional, like a little booklet,
Yeah.
and it talked about how the woman sets the tone, the emotional tone for the household. And I think that's true. How do you feel about that? Do you think that's true
Hmm.
in a family situation?
That's a great question. Um, I would say there's a part of me that says that is on the sexist side because we both have emotions.
Right.
There's a part of me that says that is my experience as a member of a family of origin and a member of a family of creation, right? That's my
Yeah.
experience as being a daughter in a family unit,
Yeah.
and that's my experience being a wife and a mother.
Yeah.
That the women set the emotional tone. What I would say to that is, and what I think is really difficult, particularly from women who are in perimenopause, is that other people don't see that setting the emotional tone is emotional labor. It is not physical labor and therefore it can't be seen. It is not physical labor and therefore there is no sweat. It is not physical labor and therefore there aren't bruises on your hands and your arms, right?
Mhm.
There are internal bruises, there are emotional bruises. And I would say that when I hear women set the emotional tone, one of
Yeah.
the things that comes to mind is the emotional labor that women take on for other people
Yeah.
more than their own share. They take
Yeah.
on the emotional labor of holding feelings for everyone, holding space for everyone, making
Yeah.
sure organizing everyone. The woman's brain in many cases is I say I'm the CEO of our family. I have a business.
Yeah.
I'm the CEO of the Institute for Healing, but I'm also the CEO of our family,
Yeah.
right? Things come through me. Like I am the
Yep.
executor. I
Yep.
I plan, I organize, I motivate, I initiate, right? These are all things that CEOs do. that is emotional labor, though. So when I hear women set the emotional tone, while I think that is true in how we are socialized, I
Yeah.
also think that that creates this space where men say, well, then I set the other tone, the physical tone. I set the providing tone.
Hmm.
But as a woman, I provide for my family as well. And so,
Yeah.
therefore, if we're both providing, then we both work together to set that emotional tone.
Yeah. I'm not implying that. I don't mean that to come off as a sexist
Yeah, no, I
implication.
didn't think you did.
It's obvious that I mean I agree with you. Men and women, everybody has emotions, but I just feel like the man's the man's influence is less far-reaching. So if dad's having a bad day, everyone else can just kind of go on like it's okay. You know what I mean? Yeah, dad's having a bad day, just leave him. I have bad days. I lock up in my office and I work and everybody else is doing what they're doing. They might be upstairs playing a board game for all I know, right? But but when mom's not good, it just feels like it's more far reaching. And I just feel like a woman's influence over the family is different just by nature, not by anything she does deliberately. I do agree with what you're saying that the emotional labor aspect of it and women are more in that CEO role of a family. I think that's just, I don't know if that's maternal. I don't know what that is. I think it's instinctual. I think it's how we're wired. Men are just not as good at that. Like an example of that is, you'll be seeing a dad walking with a kid, like a toddler, like right near the side of the road, and the toddler's like nowhere near the man, right? And my wife would be like, that kid's gonna get run over. Like, and you know what I mean? Like, you don't see women letting that happen, right? Women just have a different way of navigating around their family in a more do you know what I'm trying to say? I
I
don't
do. Like
I'm not
women are
finding the
what
words,
I
but
hear what I hear you saying is that women are more cognizant of everyone around them and their needs
yes. 100%.
to their detriment. That's my point.
Yeah.
To their
Yeah.
detriment. I agree with you,
Yeah.
they are, right? I can walk past
Yeah.
somebody and be like, oh my God, he doesn't have socks on the baby. Right? And then I'm just moving on because not my kid, right? But I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
oh, it's like it's cold on the plane and there's no socks on this kid. I just came back from California. There's no socks on
Yeah.
the kid. Okay, all right, all right. Like the kid, I'm cold, so I know this baby's feet's got to be cold. I'm freezing it,
Yeah.
but yeah, I get it. I get it. And 100%. And the funny thing, you made me think about a bumper sticker that my mom had in the 80s. It said, um, if Papa ain't happy, this was the bumper sticker. If Papa ain't happy, don't nobody care. If Mama ain't happy, don't nobody eat.
Hey,
and,
that's
and
yep.
that was her bumper sticker on her Nissan Sentra, and and it was I could see it. Like it's like, oh,
Yeah.
Dad's sad. Okay, let's leave him alone. He'll be okay. But if
Yeah.
Mom's not happy, it's like, what do we do? Do we move? Do we sit still? Do we talk?
Yep.
Do we go to her and see if she needs something? Yeah, I get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I get it. I think because
Yeah.
I do think we set the heartbeat. Like, yes, we are the heartbeat. I think so. Yeah, I just think that sometimes that's to our detriment. It's a great
Yep.
honor and a great privilege to be with to have people rely on you and see you as responsible and accountable and helpful and supportive. It just is also a great weight.
Yeah. Yeah. Women are definitely, I think, by nature more self-sacrificing. I do
Unfortunate.
think that, and yeah, yeah, and I agree. It can be to their detriment for sure.
And one of the things that I was actually just talking to my best friend about that I think is so fascinating is that for the woman who says, I don't want to do that anymore, she doesn't even have a model. Every woman she's seen before her is in self sacrifice mode. So
Yeah.
there's no even example of how do you say, I'm not sacrificing myself? I'm not. I'm stopping this. I'm
Hmm.
on hold. I am pausing. I'm on intermission, right? How do you
Yeah.
even do that? Because
Yeah.
there's nobody before you who did that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's wisdom in, not to turn this whole episode into marriage talk, but I love to have you back in the future to maybe discuss that topic because I appreciate your insights. But I think there's moments where, the husband, the dad needs to take the reins, and I'm not, I'm not saying I'm the, the golden example of this, but I do try to do it. I'll give an example. My wife cooks the meals because she's a better cook
Yeah.
than me, straight up. Like I can make stuff, but it's not as good as what she makes.
Yeah.
She's like an artist in the kitchen. So, and she's particular. She wants to make what she wants to make. I let her do it because it's going to be a better meal than I prepare 99.9% of the time. But, there's times like on the weekend where she'll start to make something and I'll stop her and it's like, listen, I'm going to make something. You do this all week. We appreciate you. Go put your feet up.
Yeah.
Go take a break. Let me, it won't be the gourmet meal you make, but I can get everyone fed.
Yes. Everybody
Right.
eats. Yes.
Yeah. And I think, I know she appreciates it. But she'd be really like ready and willing to just cook on Saturday or cook on Sunday. And I stop her quite regularly on the weekend because I have a little bit more time. I'm not working, and I can contribute more in that way, and she appreciates that. Tip for husbands out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. It's nice to have a little break.
Absolutely. So, how much do you think lifestyle and nutrition play into mental health? I saw you put a post up on Instagram stressing the importance of vitamin D on depression. I know there's been a lot of studies on that. Vitamin D is superb. I've heard some doctors say if there's one thing you shouldn't be deficient in of
Mm.
all the vitamins and nutrients, it's vitamin D. Start with vitamin D on any wellness journey and make sure you have optimal levels. It's crucial for just about every part of the body. So many things go wrong when we're deficient in D. But like, what kind of lifestyle factors can someone change today to see a shift in their mood and their mental health? Do you ever go in those places with your patients?
Yes. Go out, get outside, get fresh air, and get the vitamin D. Definitely get outside. Number two, get rest. 18 to 65-year-olds need 7 to 9 hours of rest of sleep a night. Anybody over 65 needs 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. Children need more. If you look up sleep, the sleep requirement, the American Sleep Association will give you the information for every age group. Sleep is vital to your success in terms of brain function. A sleepy brain impacts many areas, or lack of sleep impacts many areas of the brain, particularly your frontal lobe, which is the part of your brain that you use to do to be an adult. Your frontal lobe is the adulting part of your brain. It is the part of your brain that organizes organize, when you say, okay, this is my list of things to do today. This is where I'm going to start, and this is where I'm going to break, and then I'm going to do this next, and then I'm going to do this. That whole process happens in the frontal lobe only. It initiate that part of your brain helps you get involved, initiates, motivates you. It also helps you strategize, right? Okay, if I do this first, I might run out of time, so I want to do this first. If I go here first, I gotta go here first because the cleaners closes early. All of that, the being an adult is the frontal lobe, and it is the last lobe to develop. So it is crucial that you get enough sleep because the lack of sleep impacts your ability to be an adult, really. It also impacts your reaction time, which comes from the back of your brain, right? So you really do need to get some good rest. You also need to eat healthy because the research shows one of the things I try to remind my patients is that addiction is nothing but having a behavior that despite your best efforts, you can't stop. That's what addiction is. And therefore, if you look at it that way, it doesn't matter if it's crack cocaine or if it's playing video games. It doesn't matter if it's alcohol or if it's raging. Addiction is having a behavior that you are compulsively engaging in, and despite your best efforts, you cannot stop doing it. So when it comes to your lifestyle, get addicted to things that are going to get you healthy, like working out, right? And oftentimes what I hear is, well, I don't have those problems, but you're addicted to salt and sugar because every meal you have has an enormous amount of salt and sugar. That is it's doing the same, it's doing similar things to your body, it's and your brain, right? You're becoming dependent on it. And when you don't have it, you feel it, right? That is what happens when you are withdrawing from cocaine or heroin or alcohol. When you don't have it, you feel it. If that's you when it comes to salt or sugar, addiction is addiction. So I would say getting your rest and getting the vitamin D, getting the fresh air, but also working out, using your coping mechanisms, learning new coping mechanisms. I ask people all the time, even friends, like, how do you cope? It's something I actually started doing in graduate school. I'll tell you why. So I was in graduate school and I was making flashcards.
Mhm.
And I hate flashcards. I hate them.
Why do you hate
I
them?
hate them because I lose them. I hate
Okay.
them because it doesn't work for me in terms
Okay.
of reading them and then flipping them over. It doesn't work for me. So I'm sitting at my
Yeah.
dining room table in my little apartment in graduate school and I'm making these flashcards. And I said, I really do hate that. And I never had put that. I had never said that out loud. I'd never said that to myself. It would just be like, oh, you got to make flashcards. And I would just make the flashcards. But
Yeah.
this day I said, I hate flashcards. And then I stopped and I said, then why are you making them?
Hmm.
And then I said, I had this conversation with myself, because that's how you study. And then I said, says who? And then I said, they said that's how you study. Who is they? So I had this conversation with myself. I get up, I throw the flashcards in the trash can. And I called friends, how do you study? And I just went on a tour of learning how different people study. And then I thought, well, if you use Google for everything else, this was when Google was just like a thing.
Yeah.
Um, Google it. And I
Yeah.
Googled study tips. And lo and behold, did you know there's more than just flashcards to study? And I was like, wow, I could do this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh, and then I stumbled upon something that said, take this test to figure out how you learn. And I took the test, and it turns out that I actually don't hate flashcards. It turns out that I hate reading flashcards. Because they don't help me retain information, but making the flashcards actually helps me retain information because I'm a kinesthetic learner. I learn
Yeah.
faster when I do.
Right.
So making the flashcards actually is what works for me. So then what I started doing was making a set of flashcards and then throwing them away. And then make the same set all over again and then throwing them away. The writing of the word, the writing of the definition, the saying of the definition out loud while I'm writing it actually helped me retain the information. Using the cards to study from was irrelevant. Didn't do
Right.
anything for me, right?
Yeah.
So then I started using flashcards in the way that worked for me. And
Yeah.
that's what I would suggest to our viewers. Ask your friends, how do you cope? What are your coping mechanisms? I see coping as a tool belt. And one of my favorite sayings is, it's a Japanese saying, when you are a hammer, you see every problem as a nail.
Hmm.
A tool belt has holes for lots of different tools.
Yeah.
Tool belt holds a level and a wrench and a hammer and nails and pliers and a tape measure, right? And you pull out the tool according to the job that you have to do. And that's how I see coping, as a tool belt where, you know what, I've been really stressed. I'm going to pull out journaling and I'm going to use that on this problem. And then if that's not enough, I'm going to pull out coloring and I'm going to use that on this problem. If that's not enough, I'm going to pull out a walk. I'm going to take a walk
Yeah.
around the neighborhood. If that's not enough, then I'm going to call a friend. And if that's not enough, I'm going to listen to music. Pull out the tools that you need to get the job done. So that's what I would say in terms of coping. Learn how you cope. Try on different tools until you figure out, you know what, journaling doesn't do it for me, but painting does.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But in order to do that, you have to go on the journey of self-discovery.
Yeah. And I like the tool belt reference, Lakita, just the fact that I kind of look at life as a wellness tool belt. So what can I do? I want to work out a certain amount of times a week. There are certain nutritional foods that I want to eat throughout the day. I try to limit junk food. Like, these are all things that go in my mind and they start in the morning. And I think there's some mental satisfaction in just organizing my life that way, knowing that I'm managing, I'm not trying to eat too many refined carbs.
Hmm.
The temptation comes
Yeah.
sometimes, and sometimes I break and I'll have that chocolate bar or whatever. My wife's like, "You ate that whole thing?" She'll do that. But I mean, there's a certain mental satisfaction in that I think is good for us. It's probably a dopamine rush where you're doing things that are actively keeping you healthy.
Yeah.
And I think when we forfeit those things, I think that's where a lot of problems arise. You mentioned something earlier with regards to sleep, and sleep is something that we've talked about on this platform for years now. We've had different sleep specialists, and it's one of my favorite topics because so many people deal with it today. Do you find a lot of people that you deal with in your practice, like a lot of clients, are sleep deprived?
Nearly 100% of them.
Really?
Yes.
That's
No, nobody that
fascinating.
I'm seeing regularly is getting the adequate amount of sleep per night.
Wow.
More often than not. More often than not, they might get a night or two where they're getting 7 hours, but the
Yeah.
vast majority of people are. And I talk about it all the time in different workshops and at different conferences. Somewhere between 4 and 6. It's just not enough.
Yeah.
It's just
So
not.
that's like step one,
Yeah.
sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're having trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, then that's some that you start with your primary care physician. And if there's nothing physically wrong, that you should be falling asleep and staying asleep just fine, then that's when you move to the mental health arena and you see a psychologist and figure out what's going on with your sleep. Is it too
Yeah.
much stress? Is it anxiety? Is it depression? Depression can impact your sleep. You would think not, because it pulls you down, right? So you would think that depression would be like, people with depression would want to sleep all the time, and sometimes
Yeah.
they do, but every depression looks different on everybody. So sometimes depression can actually keep people awake.
Hmm.
But 100%, it's a thing. The lack of sleep is a thing. I was just in California at a conference, and I talked to 1,700 undergraduates about, and that was part of what I said: sleep, sleep.
Yeah. 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 There's no substitute for it.
There is no substitute for many things, and I think the things that we need, there are no substitutes for. The
Yeah.
exercising and making sure your body is moving, there's no substitute for that, right?
Yeah.
There's no substitute for getting enough sleep. There's no substitute for healthy food. There is no substitute. There are substitutes in life, but the things that we need to be healthy, there is no substitute for them. You have to do them.
Yeah. So Lakita, how can people find you and contact you if they're interested in getting your services or just finding out more about who you are?
Yeah, sure. So I post mental health tips and videos on Instagram several times a week. So you can follow me at Dr. Lakita, Lakeita. But you can also reach out. So I own a mental wellness practice based in Maryland. And so we see everybody from 4 all the way through the end of life, for everything from adjustment disorder to serious and persistent mental illness. And we love what we do there. And there are plenty of people, you won't see me, but there are plenty of people that are here, and we're here to help with whatever is going on for you. So yeah, that's how you can find me. And
Okay.
the name of the practice is the Institute for Healing.
Okay. We'll make sure to put that in the show notes.
Thank you.
Lakita Carter, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Great conversation.
Absolutely. That'll do it for this edition. Drop us a comment and let us know your best practices for maintaining your own personal mental health. And always check us out at mikecpodcast.com. Until next time, bye, everybody.